Okay, so I'm going to go to do the next roof now. And again, before trying to make anything, we're going to have a good look at the drawings and work out what we're trying to make. And so you can see there, this roof here at the back. Notice how it pitches from the edge of the wall, and then the roof there projects out from the wall for the eaves, and actually comes down slightly from that corner. Now, Revit will take care of all of that. As long as you know it's doing that for you, Revit's going to set out that, that soffit, is what it's called, with the eaves, in other words. So we just need to know where this point is, and we've already set that out with the levels, and then also where the top of the roof is. And again, we've set that out already with a reference plane. Then finally, looking at the some of these other drawings, it's a bit hard to tell just by looking at the plans there, but we can probably assume that the wall here essentially is, again, a parapet, and then we've got roof that is sitting over these walls and covering them completely. So if that isn't clear, when you see my finished roof, it might be a bit clearer. So here again, this is the wall that's going to be the parapet wall. And then these walls here, these other three walls, will have the roof sitting over them. So again, going to use the roof tool, roof by footprint. Notice I'm in the upper ceiling level. So again, roof by footprint. And then with pick walls first, I'll turn define slope on and pick this wall on the right of the building. And then again, we don't know what the pitch is. Often with existing buildings, you're not going to be given a pitch. You have to work that out. Okay, no one's going to give you the angle of the roof. You need to sit down and take some measurements and then sit down and do some calculations to work it out if you want to work out what the slope is. But Revit does a lot of the hard work for you. So here again, with that 10 degrees set to start with, now I'll turn define slope off, and then I can pick the top and the bottom. But then again, if I try to pick the inside of this wall, the one on the side on the right, it may work, sometimes it does, so you can see there it's actually worked pretty well. If it doesn't work though, then you can use pick lines. Okay, so if it isn't going to the right hand side, then use pick lines instead. And then with trim to corner, we can join all those lines together. Tick to finish, and I'll have a look now in the section view so that you can see the finished roof. So that's it there. But notice how, again, I don't have the arrows that I can use to stretch that. Even if I go to wireframe and course, you can see I'm not going to see those arrows. Okay, so how do you think I can get the arrows to show up so I can stretch this roof to line up with the reference plane? Exactly, do another section. Spot on, that's right, exactly. So that makes it much easier. If you make sections, don't be afraid to make sections. With interior design, you want to see inside the building more often than not. So if you just need a section to work with, it's fine just to make them as you go. So here, I'll make another section looking the other way, to the left. Open up the section view, and now I can see that roof quite clearly. And notice how I can also see the reference plane that I used earlier for the other roof. So I can simply stretch this roof now to line up with that reference plane again. And then to finish it off, back now into 3D. So you can see the roof form there. So looking at the drawing again, I think Alan, when he did these, he was in a bit of a hurry, but he drew in the eaves, but he didn't give a dimension for them. So does anyone be brave and guess what those eaves are? So if you're looking at a drawing like this, that sounds pretty close, yeah. You can, yeah. Well, just think about how, when you look at drawings like this, what's going to tell you the size of something like that? What's nearby that we should know the size of? Yeah, the beam or the wall. Yeah, or the beam, that's right, either of those. So we've got there 150 by 50 rafters, it tells us. So we know that that's the thickness of this part here. Or we can look at the walls, we've drawn those walls, so we know that they're 200 or 250, something like that. So this would be, looks like it's a little bit more than the wall, so maybe 300 at most. Let's zoom in. Is it the same or is it, oh, it's a bit less actually. So let's say it's 200. So a lot of those things, even if you're not given measurements, if something's drawn to scale and you've got things nearby that you know the size of, you can obviously use those as a visual cue. So again, 200 is the eaves. So I've selected my roof. I can go to Edit Footprint. And then this edge over here, I've got the overhang now on the options bar. Once I've selected the line, I can change that to 200. And it's going to bring it out. Now, I deliberately left that to show you after making the roof because I just wanted to show you that if you're thinking about this in the right way, you might be thinking that's going to change this point here. Right? Does that make sense? Because we brought this out so that then if we kept the same angle, this point would be higher. Does that make sense? But is it higher? Let's look in Revit. No, it's not. So like I said before, Revit does a lot of the hard work for you. As long as you understand what's happening, you'll see that Revit does a lot of these beautiful things for you, like pitching from the correct point. So let's look in the section maybe to see what's really happening there. Not that one, in this one. So that's pretty clever, I think. The fact that here, notice how that point there is where the roof touches the level. And then when it brings the eaves out, it doesn't make this point then sit onto the level. It brings it down. And that's correct. That's how we work. We need to set out from the level, not from where the roof ends up being at the eaves. That's not so important. So again, it's not obvious at first until you understand what's happening, but you realise later that Revit does a lot of the hard work for you as long as you understand what it's doing. And so now, I've brought the eaves out, and I can simply then select these three walls. I'm using Control to do that. And then, just like before, attach top base, and then choose the roof. So you'll be able to work these things out before long, but I'll spend a bit of time on this one so you can all get something just like this.